Hi, everyone. Welcome to the School of Information Science online information session. I'm Drew Brown, and if any of you are here for the undergraduate online degree, then I'll be leading that session. I also have Heather Burke here, who will be leading the graduate session. I'll let her introduce herself as well.
Thank you, Drew. Hi, everyone. I am the Student Affairs Officer for the school. I schedule the classes, and I also coordinate advising for our Library Science graduate program, but I work really closely with Sarah Jane Tamey and Ashley DeWitt, who are admissions coordinators. So I'm filling in for them today, but you'll have their information during all of the follow-up emails and everything for this session. So we'll have all of your bases covered for graduate admissions as well.
And if your Zoom username isn't your name already, if I could ask you to go ahead and change that as well to help Evan and Heather know who you are.
And Evan is just going through right now. And if we do have any breakout rooms that need to be assigned today, he will place you in those. And if not, Evan, let me know, and I will just go ahead and share the screen for our graduate programs.
Yeah, so right now it's looking like you can just share your screen if you'd like. Nobody for the BABS is coming, so if that changes, I'll let you know.
So we're going to go ahead and get started then with our graduate programs. And here we go. So welcome everyone to our online information session. Again, I'm Heather Burke. I'm working student affairs for the school. So you probably got an emails from Ashley DeWitt, from me, from Sarah Jane, depending on if you have sent us anything or started an application for either of our master's degree programs. Within the school, we have Library Science, which is an ALA accredited Library Science master's program, and then Information Communication Technology as well. So I did want to just do a brief overview for our graduate programs. They are both fully asynchronous online programs, so there's never a requirement to come to campus, and everything will be done asynchronously online. That is just something we find works best for our master's students. These are professional master's programs, so many of our students are already working full-time or part-time outside of school, and this also across states, sometimes across countries, taking classes online. So trying to find a synchronous time is very difficult. So the asynchronous model really works the best for us, but we have many years of experience in distance learning with the school. So rest assured that those asynchronous classes will be delivered very, very well, and it will be fairly easy to integrate into those classes, even if you've never taken an online class before or an asynchronous. So we, with both the master's programs, it is a 36 credit hour master's program. That means that there are 12 classes and in both programs that are required to complete the degree. So 12 classes, 3 credit hours each. Again, our library science program is accredited by the American Library Association. And then for the ICTMS, there is a requirement of 140 hours of a practicum or field experience within ICT. So we'll go over some more of these course requirements, but I would like to point out that all online graduate students qualify for lower tuition rates regardless of your state of residency. So we'll cover that in tuition a little bit later in this presentation. So currently we have approximately 300 students currently in the library science graduate program and around 60 in the MS and ICT program. The ICT-MS program is one of the first of its kind in the US. It is fairly common to see ICT programs in other countries, and it's really becoming something that's more established. Things like data science, for instance, and technology security, both areas in ICT are becoming very important. And so we're seeing programs become more established, but we were definitely one of the first here at UK. And then we have, like I said, over 30 years distance experience with education and distance learning. And for library science in particular, we are high ranked in News and World Report, overall 17th, and we are third for our health information program. We've had several associate fellows in the National Library of Medicine come out of our program, which we're very proud of, as well as our youth services and school media concentrations. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each area in the master's programs, starting with library science. If you are a school library student, please let me know in the chat. If we don't have anyone for school librarianship, I do want to go ahead and skip that slide to save on time, but I will cover it if we do have anyone who's attending today specifically interested as a certified teacher in school librarianship. In terms of the library science degree, we do have a number of concentration areas, including academic libraries, health information, IT and systems, public libraries, school libraries, which does require initial teacher certification, and the youth services and literature concentration, which is sort of nested in public librarianship. There are 4 core courses. And everyone takes those, including our school library folks, and they can be taken in any order, but they really set you up to have a proper foundation from which to build with your elective coursework later on. All students are required to take at least one IT class, and we have varying degrees of those. So there's an introductory course, LAS 636, which is very much the foundations of IT and information organizations. But there's also classes like digital libraries or database management. So depending on your comfort level coming in with information technology, you have a range of courses for library science that you can take to fulfill that. And you can always take more IT classes as electives, which we strongly recommend. Within your 7 open electives for the degree, you can also take an independent study or complete a practicum. The practicum is not required for library science like it is for ICT. So we'll talk about ICT in just a moment, but it is something that is particularly good for students who don't come into the program with any existing experience working in a library, or they're looking to really change where their emphasis is. So say you work in a public library, but you strongly want to learn more about academic libraries. A practicum would allow you to count an internship that meets the course requirements towards your degree, and that can be a paid internship. We don't exclude paid internships from the practicum. So those are all different options that you have. And then we have various electives that are available within those concentration areas. Classes like archives and manuscripts management, intro to public libraries and academic libraries, collection development, as well as various special topics classes that are offered for both library science as well as ICT. So hi, Amy. Amy had mentioned that you are a certified teacher looking at school librarianship. So I will go over this just real quickly. It's a little bit different from the standard library science degree requirements, but it starts the same way, all 4 core courses. And then your curriculum requirements, because they are linked to that external certification will be slightly more specific. So there are 4 courses for the library specialization in school media that you'll need to take. And one of those will be a practicum. This is a different practicum from the optional one for library science that we have, and you'll be working with your advisor to coordinate that to make sure it fits your current teaching schedule, and that you're able to really get all of that in. And the practical will not be until much later when you've finished more for your degree. So you'll have plenty of time to prepare for that. There'll be 2 literature courses you'll take, and we have a number of those available. And then you'll take 2 technology courses. You'll take LAS 648, Technology in School Libraries, as well as another IT class of your choice, which could be Library Science 636, Foundations of IT. And we've also had students take some of the EDL 600 level technology courses for education as a cognate to fulfill that as well. So again, just the same 12 course plan, 36 credit hours, just slightly different because we want to target that experience for certification. And then within library science, we do have the opportunity for students to participate in the alternative spring break program. This is something that we're really proud and have had a long-lasting relationship with our host organizations for. Students have done spring break internships at places like Library of Congress, National Library of Medicine, and the Smithsonian libraries. And we have actually been able to continue this program through the pandemic up until now, and hopefully in the next spring, we'll have another opportunity for students to actually go on site. But we do provide scholarships for students who are chosen for spring break, for the alternative spring break program, to cover travel and other costs. So if this is something that you're interested in, Ashley DeWitt will have more information for you, and you can contact her directly. She is actually the person who works with our host organizations. But this is open only to students in our program for library science. So while it's competitive, you're competing just against your peers. It's a really wonderful thing to get that experience working with some of the national level library professionals, international really experts in the field. And it's wonderful on a resume as well. So this is outside of classes, but again, a really unique opportunity for our students. So let's talk now, kind of switching gears about ICT. Within the ICT master's program, there are 3 tracks: health, policy, and regulation, and then technology and analytics. And in case you are wondering, these slides, everything we're talking about will be available after this presentation. It'll be included in your follow-up email. But we have some courses listed here underneath those, like evidence-based healthcare, electronic information resources for health. We have a number of classes on policy and regulation. I would say by far, technology and analytics is certainly something that we see a lot of our MSICT folks coming in interested in. So we have classes in data science, network security, information architecture, and that sort of area. In terms of course requirements for ICT, those master students have 5 core courses. One of those has to be a data science class. You're welcome to take both data science classes, but you need at least one for the degree. There is also a required practicum. And then there are a number of elective courses that you can choose from to meet the rest of your degree requirements. We have classes in security informatics, cybercrime and digital law enforcement, intro to HCI, human computer interaction, information architecture, technology security, knowledge management, and then we'll have a number of special topics courses also for ICT that are offered in a given semester. So there's many opportunities. So Switching gears from academics and everything, I did want to touch on tuition and financial aid at UK because that's a very important topic for our master's students, and we want you to have that information when you're applying or before you apply. This slide here has the deadlines for applications. And there is a note that earlier deadlines for internal assistantships and scholarships will apply. We're going to talk about that on the next slide. But for our master's students, spring starting applicants should apply by no later than November 15th. And for library science only, if you're starting in the summer, that's a popular time to start, especially for our school librarian folks. March 15th is the deadline. And then July 1st is the deadline for fall applications. With those applications for fall, you're going to want to apply either in May for internal scholarships, or if you're going for fellowships or assistantships, we strongly recommend that you apply for the fall in February. So we have time to gather all your materials, go over everything, admit you, and send your application for anything over in time. A lot of those decisions are made in March. So that's what that asterisk by fall is for. But you can see here with the tuition rates, and those are always available on the registrar's site, that our online only graduate students pay a significantly lower tuition rate than our resident graduate students. And that is because you're also not charged fees for using like campus resources. So you don't get charged the student health fee or a residence life fee or recreation fees or things that on-campus students would use because you're not on campus using those services. The only fees our students typically see would be around a $45 per course distance learning fee, if there is one charged for the course that they're taking. So it is a significant savings to be an online only graduate student. And then that full-time rate also includes 3 or more classes. So while it certainly it would be considered an overload to do so, we do have students who do a fall, spring, fall type situation for their master's degree, taking 4 classes because that 4th class would be included in the cost of the full-time rate. Summer is always at the per credit hour or part-time rate. So I will have, again, this slide, all of that is going to be available in the follow-up, but I did want to touch on that because it is a question that I get a lot, especially from students who might be taking classes with us from another state or even from outside the US. So scholarships and funding. Let's talk about scholarships. So we have a number of opportunities for funding internally, either through UK or through the school itself. Fellowships are open to all grad students. So that doesn't matter if you're within the School of Information Science, an online grad student, or on campus. You can apply for a fellowship if you are eligible. So you'll want to check the eligibility requirements. And again, that is through the graduate school, and it's open to all students. We did actually have a student receive a fellowship going into this fall. So just know that even if it is open to everyone, we do see our students receive these fellowships when they apply for them if they're eligible. So do apply for anything that you are interested in. Outside of fellowships and within UK libraries and the library science program, but open to ICTMS students who have the relevant experience. There is an opportunity for assistantships in the UK library systems. You would need to come to campus, work in Lexington for those positions, but they come with a full tuition coverage, a stipend, and then health insurance as well. And those are awarded in the fall for the duration of the academic year. And again, those applications are due March 1st. So if you are coming in for fall and you're wanting to apply for one of those positions, they are competitive. You'll want to be sure that your application for admission is in sometime in February, so we have time to admit you before those applications are sent out and you can be considered. There's also general and library science specific scholarships. These are due in terms of the application for those by June 15th. They are also awarded for the fall for the duration of the year. They are available for all our students, full-time, part-time. You don't have to come to campus. And the only caveat is, again, that you need to be admitted to be considered. So I have a link to the Funding Your Education page, which has the application forms and more information about all of those, as well as filing your FAFSA and financial aid. So that is all available on that page below. I did want to talk about some opportunities for external funding as well. These do tend to be far more lucrative scholarships, and some of them may be multi-year as well. So for library science, the American Library Association is really the #1 when it comes to scholarships. And they also have specialty scholarships. So if you're interested in a field like business librarianship or maybe youth services, you can look at both the general scholarships and then at those field areas as well. There's also Beta Phi Mu, and they have the Library Science Honor Society, and they have a scholarship as well with apps due in March. I Need a Library Job is a link we included. It's a great website for questions about professionalism and advice like that for upcoming librarians, but it also has a really great scholarship database. And then for any student who has been admitted to our program, the Kentucky Library Association has a number of scholarships, a general and one specifically earmarked for minorities, with applications due in June. And if you are admitted to a library science program that is ALA accredited in the state of Kentucky, you are eligible to apply for those scholarships. So even if you're not in Kentucky, if you're in our program, it means that you qualify. So you can apply for those, but there are also state library associations. And I encourage you to reach out to whoever your state library association may be, and also look at smaller library associations as well. Things like public library associations and different branches of some of these specialty ones from ALA in your area. Those often have scholarship opportunities as well. And then for ICT, there is the Center for Cyber Safety and Education that I wanted to highlight. They have various scholarships for both general and then specific areas within ICT. So I wanted to talk about admissions requirements. They are roughly the same for both master's programs with some minor differences that I'm going to explain now. You'll see that we do have a required GPA for admissions of 3.0. That is for any undergraduate or graduate coursework. Now, we also understand that life happens. Sometimes you may have slightly below that on either a graduate or undergraduate GPA. If that is the case, you can still apply for admission, but we'll ask you to include a statement explaining the lower GPA at the time and why you still feel you're a good candidate for a graduate program. And especially things to consider would be, have you worked in the field since then? Was there extenuating circumstances at the time? So we will have that statement included for the admissions committee when they make their decisions, and that'll be included for you if that is the case. So just know that that's not a firm 3.0, but that 3.0 is the requirement, but we look at applications holistically. If you are an international student, I will let you know directly now that we do have the ability for international students to join the program and take classes online in their home country, but we will want to make sure we work with you to make sure that our programs are able to be considered for your country. And also, just know that because we're fully online, if you're planning to come to the US to do your degree, you may not qualify for the student visa that you need just because sometimes face-to-face classes are required for that, and we do not have those for these programs. So if that is the case for you, whatever your situation may be, please contact your student affairs person, or rather your admissions counselor, I should say, Ashley for library science, and then Sarah Jane for ICT, and let them know your situation. That way they can follow up, make sure that all of your questions are answered, and you have the knowledge that you need before applying regarding being an international applicant. Also required is a personal statement. I've got links up to the admissions page for both library science and ICT, because what is required in that personal statement is just slightly different for each. It is a short personal statement of 200 to 300 words. Then you'll also want to have 3 letters of recommendation. They should be from academic or professional references, which may include places you have volunteered. It can include your former or current employer, and then former or current professors or advisors. What you will be asked to do, excuse me, and apply yourself is actually provide their title and their contact email, and the system will send them the form for the recommendation, so it automatically gets pulled into your application. So you don't have to have a physical letter that you're scanning and attaching for each of your recommenders. So just know that that's done through Apply Yourself. And then finally, we also, because these are professional master's programs, ask for a CV or resume. And whichever you have right now is fine. If you're coming from a background, maybe in academia, you'll, excuse me, I'm losing my voice today. You'll be wanting to, you probably will come with a CV. Most students have a resume when they apply. And then Trevor asked a really good question. For employers, should it be only employers in the relevant field, or can it be any employer? It can be any employer. It should be someone who would be able to recommend you for a graduate level program. So that is a good question. And then I also have some information about transcripts on this page. Ideally, if your institution can send unofficial or official transcripts electronically to that address shown, that is the best way for us to receive transcripts with your application. However, we know that some institutions may only have hard copy. If that's the case, it'll be sent to that address. If you do plan to send official transcripts and they're coming hard copy, let Ashley or Sarah Jane know, because they will want to follow up to make sure we're receiving those all right. And the other thing would be if your name on your application is different from the name that you had at the time on a transcript, let us know so we can match those up. And then Joseph asked, is the ICT program taught on campus? So the ICT master's program and the library science master's program are both fully online. So we do not have face-to-face classes that are regularly available for those master's programs. And then in terms of accessing your application, the easiest way to do it is to go to gradschool.uky.edu, prospective students. And if you hover over prospective students, you'll see apply. That'll take you to Apply Yourself, which is the online application portal used by the UK Grad School. Once you're in there, you may see when you're filling out your application that there are fields available for things like a writing sample or our portfolio. You do not need to include any of that, just what we require for our admissions. The portal is sort of set up so that if any program needs those things, they can access them, but you don't have to have all of that. And if you're ever confused or need assistance with the application process, reach out to me or Sarah Jane or Ashley, and we can come to your aid and make sure that you are all set. So that is really it for today's presentation. And then I have our emails here. We have a general student affairs email, so you'll be able to reach me through that. And then for admissions for Library Science, Ashley DeWitt, and then Sarah Jane Tamey for ICT Masters. So if you have specific questions, then that is the best way to reach all of us. But if you do have any general questions about anything we covered today, I want to be respectful of your time since we've been going for around half an hour. So you can use the chat. And then Trevor asked, remind us where to find these slides. They will be emailed to you shortly after this presentation. So I will send the PowerPoint as well as a link to this recording and recordings of previous sessions for Library Science and ICT that were done individually by both Sarah Jane and Ashley. So you will have all of that information in the follow-up. Questions? And feel free to unmute yourself to ask a question, or you can use the chat as well.
Hi, Heather. This is
Hi.
Hector Rodriguez.
Hi, Hector.
I work here at UK, and I probably want to use the employee education program.
Definitely.
But I get a question. My degree, I had a undergrad degree. Was 5 years on Venezuela, so which is outside country. I'm going to be classified as an international student or no?
So I would, if it's, I'm not sure if you're looking to apply for ICT or LAS, but whichever one that is, I would send that question directly to your admissions counselor. They can, basically they can look at your degree, and the graduate school can determine like if that is equivalent to like an undergrad degree here, which it probably is. And also help you with where your status would be for applying to either of the graduate programs. But if you're a full-time employee at UK, certainly there are those benefits through the EEP program for covering tuition cost. I think it's up to 6 credit hours or 2 classes a semester. So we do have students who are doing that as part of kind of funding their education. So the forms for that and kind of walking you through that will be something that we can do, certainly. But in terms of what you need to apply and like equivalencies for undergrad in foreign countries, because we have that happen quite a lot with both domestic and foreign applicants, because sometimes someone will have done their undergraduate degree in Canada or Germany. So we will work with you to figure out what that looks like and let you know. And really the best way to do that is to just email the admissions counselor, the admissions coordinator for our program for whichever one you're applying to. And those emails are on the screen.
Okay, so in this case, it will be set up because I'm looking for the ICT. Okay.
Excellent. And Sarah Jane is out this week, but she'll be back. And I'm copying her on all the follow-ups. So she will get back to you and answer your question. It may be just a little while since she's out this week.
Oh, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. And then Veronica asked a really good question. For application, is official or unofficial transcripts okay? For applying, an unofficial transcript is all that's required. If you are admitted, they will ask you to have your official transcript sent. So some students, if they know, like, I want to be at UK, I'm just going to go ahead and send the official. You can go ahead and do that, or unofficial is fine just for the admissions process. The important thing for official transcripts is that if you have a hard copy and you've already opened it, even if it is an official copy, if you yourself as a student have access to it and have opened it, the graduate school is not going to consider it official. So a new official copy would have to be sent directly from the institution to the UK graduate school. So that is just something to keep in mind. If you're concerned about how to send a hard copy transcript, definitely reach out to either Sarah Jane or Ashley, and they can kind of guide you through the process and let you know what to do so that it's definitely apparent that your particular application it contains a official transcript, and there's no question about that. So that is a great question. And I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Amy, I do see your question, and the answer to it is let Ashley know, and she will pull it. She can help you pull it. In any transcripts from for your degree application, they need to have any institute of higher education you've attended. Even if you transferred out, you're going to want to have both those transcripts. That was a question from Veronica. You will need to have transcripts for all of the institutions you've attended. If you're concerned about that, or you have a specific question about like transferring from finishing your degree at a community college to that other, maybe another institution, let Ashley, or if you're in ICT, Sarah Jane know, and they can take a look and let you know. And then Michael asked a question for ICT. Does the online course catalog list requirements for the practicum? Yes, we have, firstly, it will be much further on in your degree when you're doing a practicum. And we do have, I know that there are options, especially for if you're already working in the field, for that to be something that kind of coordinates with what you're doing for your position. Sarah Jane would be the best person to ask more about that, since she coordinates the ICT 696 practicum. We don't do direct placements, mostly because we have students from all over the world and all the states, and it's probably not going to be possible for us to do direct placements everywhere, but we do assist students with finding those positions. And there's a learning contract for both ICT and library science students seeking practicums that have all the requirements and plenty of information for the prospective supervisors, but she will be able to walk you through that when the time comes. In terms of classes starting, for fall, classes are going to be starting August 23rd. So we do have classes available in summer, but those are during the last 8 weeks of the term. So it's a 12-week term for summer at UK, but we only offer classes between like June and August. So if you're wanting to take classes in summer, you're applying in summer, just know that that is going to be a shorter semester. These are really, really good questions. Thank you all so much. I did want to mention that for library science, if you are interested in doing a practicum as one of your electives, you'll probably end up talking to me. I work a lot with different supervisors. So any kind of opportunities we get for practicums, I send those out. I'll be available to help you with a learning contract, things like that. I'm kind of the go-to person for the 672 class in terms of getting all that information and registration. So if you are interested in doing that, then let me know. The one caveat we do have for library science practicums is that it cannot be a current job position that you hold, like a title job position. So if you are coming in as an assistant director at a public library, being an assistant director at a public library can't count as class credit. So it's supposed to be a learning experience. So if it's a new experience, then yes, it will count toward a practicum for library science, as long as it meets those 140-hour requirements for the class. So that's the biggest difference probably between ICT and library science, is that it's an optional practicum for library science, and then the practicum for ICT is part of the degree requirements. Awesome. Well, I think that we are probably coming close on time. I want to be respectful of your lunch hour for all of you. So I will go ahead and send the follow-up out after this. Evan is going to send the recording to our YouTube channel, and it'll be trimmed up, and I will send the link out so you can review anything we talked about in the session, as well as the PowerPoint and those links that we shared as well. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and thank you so much. Talk to you all soon. Looking forward to seeing all your applications. Bye.